Go pardon me, Biabo.
Yedamiase, Bibi Kama. Okay. Yenim Komoy.
Ken that's in a Mamencha yeti for near chef for an anno pay. May pretty sure say a new debate, untimi argue, say a ball El Clasico, the biggest fisher, Nipado Duana no ebe fulu, a match a Nipado Duana beshe. So, Mamencha same friend free Real Madrid ne Barcelona. Since 1902, Real Madrid and Barcelona ball FS game. Yeka competitive games are these two clubs about a 261. Now, out of 261 competitive games between Real Madrid and Barcelona, Madrid they win him 105, and Barcelona they win him 104, and they move 52 about draw. So a chair say, from our first day, almost shall say, almost compete your mohono. Compare competitive games, so mushia are very close and tight. Again, se obe share the current form and I say the current situation of both clubs. Yes, share La Liga na sia. After 9 games, our La Liga no. Real Madrid edi kanya wa winning 8 games. We lose baako. What's 20 goals a concede 9. Our 24 points. Barcelona etosu mienu ono so after the 9 games no we team winning 7. We draw 1, lose 1. Ashe 24 goals a concede 10. And to also be checking omunyina about current situation. Obia points are accumulating obia performance our La Liga na. Esa you close into your game back again. Unti means take neck out say. Real Madrid modern monu was through bebre SN Barcelona and Asa Barcelona modern monu was through bebre SN Real Madrid. Gab ne that two clubs no as it stands now no and so that any wider a very close between these two clubs. And you expect a tough match from Real Madrid than Barcelona. But I can personally game we ankasano obiawo advantage baako. Barcelona have that psychological edge over Real Madrid as it stands now. Barcelona have that psychological edge over Real Madrid. And Real Madrid forces so have that energy management and then physical edge, you know. And to be our edge, kakra and as advantage kakra one. Say two clubs and as any pam you know na previously baako taibo ne yonko pa. Se almost say besie biema eya na mentally no the taibo ne yonko no wadwim bi say oye obi a me taibo no emfa ho ni situation a me wom no. So the reason why I make us Barcelona what that psychological edge ni say we check omo last 4 games Barcelona abu Real Madrid sa. Enti Real Madrid for area game ni Barcelona for area game ni no. Advantage baako Barcelona won here say area game no me say last season or dominating Real Madrid. Into that psychological edge, I advantage at Barcelona. Real Madrid force him say, omofa 2 teams ne currently na omo show biano a physical picker. Real Madrid was through. Knowing Barcelona injury list, Real Madrid 4 players ni bi omo pra by Barcelona the end also. We are talking about Clasico Barcelona elusu omo first choice goalkeeper Juan Garcia. Olusu Gavi, Olusu Lewandowski, Olusu Dani Olmo, Olusu Rafinha. Onum pokran obi enim so betima ba na so mbo. Na same players in pokran returning from injury no. Omunyan reach omo physical peak. And to Real Madrid for no was gidie ne say in terms of say ye manage sa physical aspect of the game no omo osoro. And to omunyina no edge and as advantage baako going into this game e betima play advantage at the both sides. By kin obi a watch Clasico na nsen no eya na nyoma be brain se sawo Clasico ni mo enti Clasico na nsen wo hwa eye details nkiti bi ana eya na esesa game no de edikan wa wo be stay discipline wo game nim enti se wotie Jude Bellingham wo bo ni interview no tie de okan ni ya Clasico na nsen ya bo me use recent one last season de ya eye club a wo be stay discipline wo game nim both tactical discipline and self-discipline. A play advantage kesiye at the mount. Wa ube take moment, opportunity neba ube take advantage, ube utilizes our moment, no, a play advantage at the mount. And coach ube to me are making sure so ube adapted to game situation. Game ne how we see kon ube to manage now so do we rag game nim. And individual brilliance. And then your man and say Clasico ye di wini. Until last season in Pokra Barcelona air dominated Real Madrid. Almost said Real Madrid, Nanya said Real Madrid for Mbobo. Nanya said Real Madrid for creative chances. Yebo Clasico na e go to a time Barcelona to me pick na drop na Real Madrid for be take advantage enti ye wa take movement individual brilliance coach Albertimas make sure say we be adapted to game situation no una mostly come out me nya sure say nyame ya do ma chi na be sesa eye sa nyoma we ya na be sa akwa hu it is up to 2 clubs and they say omo ebe hu kwan be fa so ewura game nim bakin ye nwura game nim ankasa proper Barcelona this season and I say if it is a Hansi Flick ebe fa abobuku no obi a watch Barcelona ne Hansi Flick enye news I just won't hwe Barcelona o pese o attack o control game no or possessive game no or person dictating the tempo of the game and ne Hansi Flick or attacking football na yen control and style of play no ent means playing against Real Madrid enye ne ana Barcelona ekweshia Real Madrid da Barcelona so obebo defensive game there be ye be hu Barcelona obe try say obe open up obe kura ball ne more obe attack Real Madrid bobuku no ene Hansi Flick ne style of play those on touchline and farmer Barcelona okon Real Madrid so a if it say Alonso befa abobuku no or try so best Real Madrid for style of play ne kakra enti Alonso ebefa Real Madrid no Real Madrid for style of play say omo pe attacking football yem building from a chiro yem kura ball ne kakra ni making sure say you be control game no without pressure ni emfa your star passing network no emfa create chances no so compare Real Madrid last season and Real Madrid this season I say season as no who said the style of Real Madrid no atimi asesa kakra. That's the reason why La Liga after 9 games ayabono Barcelona omo average possession is 70.7%. 70.7%. Then over Real Madrid the average possession is 63.8. When they compare last season ayabo Real Madrid in the first 9 games no now on average 63.8% in terms of possession. But Alonso in the first 9 games of La Liga no average 69.8% of ball possession. So a chow say a try for you the chow say a 2 coaches are omo pebo ni kura omo attacking game omo nyina pe control. So for once you be witness 2 clubs are obi aba try so the ball better form a pass ball no say obi make sure say or the passes network no ebe create chances because na 2 coaches naturally say on person omo ball. But we check Barcelona this season Barcelona matches on my drop points. Barcelona matches on my struggle nyina against Vallecano, against Sevilla, against PSG. These are classic examples I bet me use. Teams omota eha Barcelona adwen pa no. Teams are Barcelona jeba omo press Barcelona pan ye intensity no wasro. Omo ye very aggressive with omo press. Omo tie ha Barcelona this season. Teams are time bia no omo ma Barcelona enya sa traditional central control omo ha Barcelona. And teams are omo tie beat Barcelona. Omo highlight defense no omo tie eshe Barcelona etimi ha Barcelona adwen so ekwan Barcelona fa so e consider lose games no enne kwan ye say ye say Real Madrid fo betima ya na so the first question abebu sa ho ne say se me kwhwe Barcelona ne PSG Barcelona ne Vallecano Barcelona ene Sevilla ekwan Sevilla fa so say Barcelona ekwan PSG fa so tete Barcelona ekwan Vallecano fa so tete Barcelona no Real Madrid fo betima ya sa de ni bi that's the first question. And say teams omo type press Barcelona pana ya na Barcelona struggle because Barcelona time on the ball no a pass. So obisa won say Alonso ne Real Madrid betima press high na on betima ye counter pressing. The answer is yes. Because last season under Carlo Ancelotti kai eka say omo press high omo nye coordinated because if Vini ne Mbappe she press na say obi ambake up the press. But Alonso befa Real Madrid boboku no kakra wa demonstrate a try ne say anytime be a Vinicius Junior, Mbappe, and I say Mastantuano, sa 3 players never shall press na say ewo position half no. You say Real Madrid for midfielders. Say eye Jude Bellingham, eye Tchouaméni, eye Ada Goulet. Omo nyina say push ko menim. Etimi ko back up the press. It got to a time me fullbacks ni hypocrite me ko menim e ko back up the press. So ye share season I say adia ba kwa Real Madrid for timi ye ni ye pa no e omo high press and a counter pressing. As I say, no, or may improve in terms of calculation in their pressing and how we coordinated in their pressing. That's the reason why I can. Baby, I have La Liga ne do no. Upetima, where we need boss can see a position final third Real Madrid. Real Madrid, I said last season, na omunim pressing no. By this season and Alonso, baby, I have La Liga matches ne do no. Real Madrid ne yebo bokwa where we need possession, a position final third. Every single game, we are or averaging 5.2, a position third. There is no single club, La Liga. See you winning ball position 10 no onim yesen Real Madrid as it stands now. So Alonso ne Real Madrid that demonstrated say on betima press high, which you expect say on betima use Sadia and Yami Adumechina against Barcelona.Barca. Last season, Adia Bakwa Barcelona de Tete Real Madrid pan was on offside trap. Na Real Madrid for him hono omo intimi beat Barcelona for no offside trap no. Sa Barcelona echo high Time.Mbappe offside. It got to a time na Real Madrid mpokra obenaba no almost Mbappe say on time any runs no. And it say o kosia Barcelona ken opa kosroba form. Barcelona for say almost nsesa omo high line no. Ya obia kan de also okebia no Barcelona for say mensesa. So me you pretty sure say a kosroba form e kire so paaswa. Barcelona be ball mo high line no. So how a Real Madrid for be first we beat high line no. E dia create chances e dia shegu e very important. So the big question is, Madrid wait my yana, and Barcelona for air ball more high line na. Omo right back, mostly a Kundi. Omo left back, a Baudino. Omo mbiem. Omo ye back close. Aba bromba be center backs in home. And to Barcelona in their high line, a very narrow, leaving a lot of spaces for wide area. And the opponent be on Masha Barcelona be on BT Barcelona for high line. Sa diagonal pass in the covering so. Then you be be running from deep. Edebon akwakotum this time around Mbappe bet my time in runs na and came in okase one player ba kwa La Liga say oya ade running from deep no beat offside trap abrante friend say Mbappe yes La Liga na se no Mbappe running from deep oye 20 kilometers per 10 seconds bian running from deep and otimi nya 13 shots until last season Mbappe running from deeper na oye outside no this time around and Alonso no oma train side na enenra mpokra be ye ho story wa hase enti every 10 seconds bia no abrante no running 20 kilometers from deep I so BT high line no so Real Madrid for betima target side no it's up to Barcelona.Barca ni say omo form omo high line na omo make sure say they will be on a straight line time you betima make sure say Real Madrid for be fall for omo outside trap no by say Mbappe to improve that aspect Madrid betima take sa advantage no Barcelona say Frank papa friend say Hansi Flick ne ball ni nyina betima ko yi a ejina the midfield third Barcelona is here kan na Pedri abrante friend say Frankie de Jong hu so a ehona na Barcelona will be at the elements because our two players na join no mo de ball no you will feel midfielders omo wiase a in terms of midfield play, omo complementing each other very well. And it's Barcelona is here kind. Na Frankie de Jong na operate as a deep sitting midfielder. Na Pedri na operate as the central midfielder be control game na. Frankie de Jong na beji ball ni dey free chire ho. Now I try say obe connecting the midfielders and forward line players no. Pedri mum and beji ball na control no wetimi a progressive ball no. I make sure say forward line players never running into spaces. No man connecting our players no. And it's our two players ni very key Edema Barcelona. Nyame adu mechina. Se Barcelona be wini ana so mu wini. And no kosia Pedri ne Frankie de Jong na. Two players are ken. Ye more time ni space. Frankie de Jong ni Pedri. Se omu usia kan na omu space omu timer and nam se oma dream do akwesi broni beka se omu football IQ no wasro no omu time ni space a omu be dream ama pass bi a yembe show so ade ba ko e ba Real Madrid ni say e was a time bia no omu close down these two players ye mo time and it's a we check omu game against PSG omu game against Vallecano omu game against Sevilla anytime bia midfielders ne beji ball bia no quickly no ma close them because the moment Abema Pedri time and space, or my Frankie de Jong time and space, no, or dream a pass or the Bema or dream one won't see. These are midfielders are technical ability in terms of football IQ no was so Real Madrid for be say here numbers in the midfield play. Some Madrid for me yes na Barcelona for be create chances. Untimi ni sadie in free. Say Real Madrid the coach Barcelona say Barcelona and create chances. Barcelona definitely nyame adom no be create chances. Be be Real Madrid for defense nim ebesi. By how a Real Madrid for ever avoid the errors. Because when Barcelona kusia or be attack, will be create chances no. How will be stay calm, will be patient in terms of defending. I won't call errors leading to goals no. A key at the Real Madrid. When in your four, Real Madrid for be here will give him say person who beat team my friend say Barcelona. Real Madrid on the other side, our weakness. Madrid team no, enya complete sir. Our weakness be Barcelona beat my exploit. Obia ponkwacha Real Madrid matches omu concede. Teams are almost Real Madrid omu take chances for against Real Madrid no. Teams omu exploiting Real Madrid fullbacks no. Madrid for air attack here, omo committee a lot of players up front. So no last line of defense no omo isolated. The moment omo isolated no omo lose pass back up or the ball ni to omechi. Obeha Real Madrid boboku no. And in this case, Barcelona so 2 players are omo in terms of size spaces no, Rashford on the left side, Lamine Yamal on the right side. And the time biano, Barcelona be decided say Obama Lamine Yamal and Marcus Rashford at a trap. And to say Real Madrid for committee omo ho eko manim. Na Real Madrid for a last line of defense I isolated her. Ombe try say ombe win the ball. Na oma send the ball back up say omo locate Rashford and Lamine Yamal. These are players omo running with the ball and without the ball. Omo dangerous. A bit more play advantage for Real Madrid. And teams of Marcel Real Madrid nano omo use idea can say the widespread attacking ship. And the game weekend nyame adumechina. How are Barcelona wings or no? Ebe effective way to determine the game. Barcelona wings or no? And ebe 2 players omo de ochi. Marcus Rashford then Lamine Yamal. Busa won said the entina last season. Yababo classic kwa wie bia no. Na Lamine Yamal ne ma Abrante fence Rafinha ho ayi hu game nim. Because Real Madrid for weakness kese pan teams so use widespread attacking shape. Goals omo considering nyina no efisa area ho. Because omo right back Alvaro Abrante fence Fede Valverde ne bubble right back no. Left back Alvaro Carreras Alonso pese omo nyina involving in attack. Omo involve ya Real Madrid any ade can say the fill in row. Enti anka ya ade say Alvaro Carreras ekonanim. Fede ekonanim a who expect me for the sense ombe Felix row no am omo defensive cover ebi ni ho. Twamen intimi nya saade no. Twamen say otimi obstructive work no. But in terms of the fill in row, eya abusa won say Carvajal elbow right back. Na Fede Valverde elbow midfielder Carvajal konanim a hwe kwan a Fede Valverde efa so koye the fill in row on the right side. Say na ye likely say Fede Valverde elbow right back no. Why na be the fill in row? And a one year advantage Edema Lamine Yamal and Marcus Rashford. And these are 2 dangerous players. And taking a game back to be honest with you. Nyama bebre ensesa. Why and the be discipline? Why and the be taking moments? Coach Ben Obetima adapted to game situation and individual brilliance. Obi ebehwe Mbappe, ye behwe Vinicius Junior, ye ba behwe Jude Bellingham, Ada Guillermo, sa players we betima change game ne dia Madrid. Say na Rafinha ni ho, Lewandowski ni ho no, Rashford eni ni wo no ho, emu ye den a individual brilliance no obe change dia Barcelona. Lamine Yamal wakasa bebre wo sa game we mu eni be kɔ ne so oje ball na Madrid for no ebebu no. Obetima sesa game ne dia Barcelona na enti these are elements a ewo game we me betima sesa game no by kin se o ye o kan no cry nya se me Real Madrid ni ball na you see ebo see imprempren ya no o consider factors ni nyina together considering Barcelona injuries ne sa na o mani nyina na e ma Real Madrid for that advantage ne kakra ahead of Barcelona by all classico how I be game no ase anyhow I be real game ne be determined by assistance now Real Madrid for no that slim advantage ahead of Barcelona boboko no Chelsea ebo Sunderland Chelsea fans ne niaje because after so lose against Brighton Chelsea last 4 games Benfica playing against Liverpool playing against Nottingham Forest the Nayas Chelsea winning nyina and on last 4 games omo winning nyina no ometimi a 10 goals abra omo concede 2 and so 10 goals no 8 different players and I said Yama Chelsea and Chelsea currently Chelsea boboko no independent on just 1 player say on kwan be mo goals and mom that need that confidence they say playing against a team friend say Sunderland no Chelsea be win this game no but won't me underrate Sunderland boboko no ken yeka nyina na Sunderland at 7th on the league log omunya bad at all. And the team or that 7th on the league log, looking at the resources, materials, the crano, now or that 7th on the league log. We Chelsea, I won't mean one underrate. Team a friend say, yes, Sunderland Bubukuno. Sunderland are who in a king. Omo City deep, and that's 1 person bobo no more half. Omo bobo no more half. Normal locate you midfielders, not send long balls, Eddie call left, Eddie call right. And players omo send this long balls no. Eye Noah and a Granit Xhaka. Granit Xhaka ni Noah every Sunderland game ni ma. Wakele Sunderland team no enti ye game back wa me expect say Chelsea ebe control me for ni ye na entimi ma Granit Xhaka and Abrante friend say no and dominating send this long balls no and fan kwa anymore me expect Chelsea say playing against Sunderland omo de sa form na nkasa ebe wrem Manchester and Brighton e Old Trafford recently Brighton have Manchester pa in their last 5 games Brighton are winning 4 Manchester winning 1 and kinunim the funny aspect of this omo games no Manchester able few Old Trafford But the last 3 games are also Old Trafford between Manchester and Brighton. Brighton are sending in Old Trafford. And Brighton have Manchester Manchester United pa. And we check your league log now. Manchester United 13 points, Brighton 12 points. Just 1 point and separate you. And to check no performance no almost the same. At par. Obi answer than Chini Yonkumu sa kesiesa. And Manchester United last 2 games were winning. Brighton the last 3 games ultimately lose ye. And to be a rag game nima as will be a form no di rem no eye. But can watch a Brighton team na. Nyoma miensa ana hu omu game nim. Nyoma miensa hu a Brighton game no. Hu flexibility, intensity and a quick transition. And nyoma miensa obi hu game nim. Duomo ye ne say. Omo je ball na. Omo right back, omo left back, eye Matt and a Fedi. Omo joine, omo wingers ni Diego Gomez and a Minte. Sa 4 players we no make sure say ombe overload. Na a creative spaces e dia mo me for the some year runners no just to exploit that pocket of spaces. No mo dia how mo opponent. Any dia Brighton for ne yet. By some Manchester United for any abre. Na Manchester United Ruben Amorim and the players ne person almost say we need the trust of Manchester United supporters are. What me as Sunderland. What could Liverpool chroma question na playing against Brighton mentality approach and what they now the boss our games now the assign dead points no the same thing and I'm expecting from Manchester United. Manchester United against a Liverpool against Sunderland. Manchester United able to make good results playing against Brighton. Okay. Medemanu cinema Liverpool ne Brentford game no. No man koye in former Liverpool recently until say UEFA Champions League go Germany. Eko win 5-1. Brentford nankasa ken no man koye in former almost after so mo ton mo key players no. By omo game ni simple. A counter long balls. And my catch rolls are the major problem of Liverpool who consider goals no. The spaces in between on the defensive lines no. Wide. And to say share team or long balls ne counter. Obe utilizes such spaces in between the lines no. And to the moment on long balls no. Long balls ne kope dam guard wo ho, dango atara ho, ombetima run etria for defense ne so. Classic example. Liverpool for first game mu win here against Bournemouth. Shantuan semenyo goals or say. Don't say Liverpool win you by great spaces. On Frankfurt, UEFA Champions League, Frankfurt for goal no the space. And there was a Liverpool for closest space. That's the only thing now. It was a Liverpool team here. So much me closest spaces now. Liverpool bet me the needed victory no movie here now.
Kwame Jela. You better was Kwame Messi about so enche. Na mamene address so nim komo kakra address embrema.
Kemeda say na maminchia awusi. I will do quite often. Maybe I will be a Mamichano, any city gym center guys in Mamicho. Na Mamisha say for the classical game, no na Ken. Nyamia Dumwa Sunday, the 26th of October. Exactly 1 year. And Barca share Madrid 4-0. Na me assure sir the arguments and the conversation that Enya Carlo Ancelotti Real Madrid, I understand. But if you do a careful analysis, there are traces be or what Madrid would have to solve and game no mabo. Ken, sa game no 4-0 no. Only say first half na goalless draw. It was goalless draw. Before that game, Obie Susu say Barcelona Kunde, Pau Kubasi, Inigo Martinez, ebetimi a handle Vinicius Junior and Kylian Mbappe pace na not omode bobo no. But in the first half alone, Kylian Mbappe enya 6 offsides. Offside Makuma 6. Second half for the 2 ka winti a ball game ni we no. Then Mbappe nkwa as individual or no kwa yes 8 offsides. And they had team, you know. Second half, Madrid team collapsed. In the first half, Madrid had its moments. Almost say Vinicius Junior, I do remember on the 21st minute, a cutting be on the goalkeeper. Obobo the same. Me can you see to say in the Clasico, obianya the moment. Games na Madrid elusuning in ano. There are lots of moments. Madrid, if they had taken a conversation, Now, Ken, Barcelona team, over their last 4-5 games, adia yenim sa Barcelona team ye pa no eba from. And this Hans Flick acknowledged the fact say team defensively omo issues. Yes, Barcelona yeah their power offsides. Omo teams any offsides pa. Yes, it is true. That is for a fact. That was last season. But afi assasa teams yeah Barcelona say offsides pa. Say teams be offsides against Barcelona. Ever from PAG 90 minutes 2 offsides pe. And now against Sevilla 2, Girona 2. In all these games, Girona were creating chances. Paris Saint-Germain were creating chances. Sevilla creating chances. Against Paris Saint-Germain, PAG creating 5 big chances. And not just a normal chance. So big chances 5 against PAG. Barcelona versus PAG. Okay. Barcelona versus Sevilla. Sevilla created 4 big chances. Sevilla share 4 nina. Barcelona versus Girona. Girona created 3 big chances. Almost share bako. It's now teams are creating big chances against Barcelona. Teams are opening up Barcelona's offsides. So first question before we go into the game, they say Barcelona makes me for the creating. Ama Real Madrid in your chances na. Because you allowed chances against Paris Saint-Germain, you got punished. You allowed 4 big chances against Sevilla. Sevilla scored all of them. You allowed big chances against Girona. Girona nyemumi ensa bako pen say. It is all the big chance na the man Kylian Mbappe. Conversation ebe kwa say. So the man Vinicius Junior ebe kwa say. So the man Jude Bellingham ebe kwa say. So Barcelona will need to guard against this. Barcelona, yes, sir. Let's have a conversation about that. Because they say, it is quite obvious to say, former Kylian Mbappe won last season. And this season, so season way, or ball shots bebre, or BT offsides bebre, or running to spaces bebre, what sell a leg and asi bebre. It's how you handled Kylian Mbappe last season shouldn't be the same. Let me give you one example. Mekacho sa 4-0 no. Mbappe nkwanye 8 offsides. Ken wouldn't be the last 3 games against Barcelona. Why just 3? Average 1 offside per game. Let's just say how to beat Barcelona's high line. Because first game 8 offsides. We are so vilified. You fire no pa. He learned his lessons. Now on your sabio. It's say we are Barcelona. What are you going to do? Ken, yet say. First of all, me sure say Hansi ebesis a high line in the even a mid block. Start of a ball because a part of the game. Na high line no. Debia mekas ne diane. How the front line will also press. So the high line is not the problem. The problem is the front line. TMA. High line or no. They are starting the press. And there's a front line. No. So front line na anye juma. Back line they say esu ending faswo. And as a high line esu ni faswo. T. I to say ukuta phone. Phone ye kutami. Ken. The ye pie high line, I don't know full name. Name sa cover no. I say phone cover no. I don't know front line. I don't know protecting the high line. It is a front no enye juma cover ni nye juma phone no top for more. Utiati. It is most times our concentration is on the high line. But the bigger problem is that front line ankasa and send you missy press last season and this habio. It's a debiano. It makes the back four vulnerable. Why any Abeka someone answer? But last year, the energy at which na Rafinha, Lewandowski, Lamine Yamal, no more fast so a pressing. Last season, open team a winning possession power opponents half. Barcelona were number 1. They created and scored so many goals from pressing teams and getting the ball. Into a one more occasionally, now opponents a creating chances via pass on the ball, and they are not offsides. A bim, a to the be an chance now goalkeeper save you, a to the be an Barcelona near Shomo. But this time around, say Rafinha, sa personal, wepra oni hobby. Rashford and a Afi Orbo, he's still learning. And center forward hono Lewandowski we pra in and out. Say Ferran Torres here nyame antuma so bebo boni bia. Ono so onye fully fit. Lamine Yamal, he is having groin injury. Oba na no one ton say basa so no one ton. But I want them to say enkani obetimi dia press bebre. Inti first of all, there as a weakness kakra ewenimo enu nti ene na mo problem no kwasha highline one. Inti Barcelona nya saade ni ya. That is where the problem will come. Because I feel say last year the Real Madrid for front line no more brepa na entire offsides they say they did not have good passes. Tchouaméni, Fede Valverde, Jude Bellingham, omunya good passes of the ball. It's either they are hitting the ball fast, they are overhitting, they are underhitting, or they are not passing the ball well, or they are not reading the game well. But I feel me who passes our Real Madrid team anymore. Ada gule ni mpase obebo bo ni bi. Say Sakamavinga beboa enya bad. Did house no gine kire won osoma passer. That is also a very very good passer. So I am very careful say any Barcelona should do their pressing game well. If they don't do that, they have a problem. Dear Tosubiu, let's flip the coin and shadi. Last season, Real Madrid, Adebako no munimi ye pa ne say opponents alpha board all build it up. Yes, that's a game of first 15 minutes. Vinicius Junior, Kylian Mbappe, Jude Bellingham, almost pressing giddy. Essence and almost pressing your coordinated. First 15 minutes, no more Bruno Wufu no mejai. It's about say teams build it up easy against them. Can't move on to the next one. I'll come back to this. It's Yesha Madrid for so. Akwayamo Faso press this time around. Remember 2 examples. This is Real Madrid versus Marseille. Unlike last season, not averagely, Madrid for highline press 3.8. Kenny, season where winning say jump from 3.8 equal 5.2. Meaning said they are winning balls. Our opponents half a par. So this is how they start their press. Maybe I can't so much. Fede Valverde normally nanse otegina right back no. Onu ne ba press opponents left back. It's in this case. Say Barcelona for air passing ball from the back. Alejandro Balde no possibly a Fede Valverde the Bama Makeno. After watch Kylian Mbappe and whoever plays as the number 10 shall also roll on Mbappe. Also ever pressing the 2 center backs. Let's just say Osha picture where every single player Real Madrid air man to man. Last season it wasn't like that. It's the team Real Madrid Barcelona team na Ocean last season no different because this season they are doing more pressing unlike last season. This is one example. Mami more the next example. And now Real Madrid versus Juventus. Ken Shadie Fede Valverde ball to then or Presse Cambiaso was playing as the left back. My catcher say games na match in Real Madrid's pressing. The right back is responsible for opponents and left back in terms of their pressing. We are expecting that Fede Valverde will always jump from the position to mark Alejandro Balde when Barcelona are doing the build-up. After you so expect to say either Jude Bellingham or Kylian Mbappe ebe man marke Pau Kubasi and answer Ronald Royo on my form 1v1. Vinicius Junior will always be on Fede Valverde, and I say Vinicius Junior will always be on Jusconde. Say Krano, Kenny Jusconde no pay me who say about ekwakosia doctors no cause the situation no so ya star bi and the doctors for na be kire so obebo ni bia no mbo entire star so obebo so obebo dia Vini will always be on him wama ebia or the Eric Garcia be bobo and now so say ebia Ronald Arroyo there but whoever will play as the right back Vini will be on them. The person has changed. Dear Tosubio Kent mama the first one I'm in Sanka Samcho. Say Real Madrid a year build up. Omo build up in a 3-2-5. 3-2-5 nature say yes game no na ye bar. On paper, you see Real Madrid play 4-3-3. Yes, I agree. Nemo Madrid kutabola broni say they are doing build up. Build up na important. Change the paper so 4-3-3 and now 4-2-3-1 no. It's Usha Real Madrid build up. Say Alvaro Carreras no. Do you important ne say now because of now saying Vinicius Junior coach the man stay line no so say Alvaro and Daniel overlapping bebre Senebeya he will be cautious say commerce transitions be here into your television no so this is Real Madrid and an air build up and of course they have their three back solid right back the pet and no free center or free side back four nimu open up space Senebeya. In the final third, Real Madrid will have 5 players. Now, this is where it is important. Kylian Mbappe. Makancho say, "Onyo bia debia sa traditional namana ojina faakuni bia." He will always want to move. It is a Jude Bellingham ebotena. Nancy ebebo Jude Bellingham bebre. Because Jude Bellingham no, or no so he always want to be in the box because Madrid needs a presence in the box. So Jude says Otimi build it up in a 3-2-5. Jude any other gule and the closest players with Kylian Mbappe. That is if say Yamiya Dumwa line up no Obebo Adagule on the right wing. Because I'm expecting a midfield three of Chouameni me pese Kamavinga bobo nibi.
Chouameni ne Kamavinga.
Aye.
Send the Pedro into your become.
Okay, it is quite to say Madrid Barcelona midfield the say obi aya we say Pedro
say Chouameni ojempano
ye. Okay, say no Real Madrid a defender. Or no team be share defenders. We see he always fills in honestly. Madrid defense defending.
Yeah,
Ukrawa can set pieces. One thing a month for I no look.
Madrid they set pieces in your cry.
And yo.
I mean, to many corners and Quabe 10. Why we are back one player. Apart from Militao and so a good way.
Mashabako, Herman Catcher. Last season Barcelona share 102 goals in the league. I want to set pieces in 13. Also attack up Basa Arsenal set pieces. Teams they are doing very well our set pieces we don't mention. When you say season way, Barcelona set 24 goals in the league. 16 NA open play. 6 of them are set pieces.
So meeting the corner kick.
Oh, I'm telling Barcelona set 6. Last season was set 13. We're crying call baby I was set 6. That's just a way improving. Average say we check it sir into set pieces no kind of say it is one of those things they need to guard against but beyond set pieces maybe a Chouameni wow one ken honestly idea about what Chouameni ye Emma coach ne pen asem ne say Madrid dey defend here back four no obi move bia Chouameni ko share the place ho say ekonomu ye dia he drops as a center back and Madrid defends in 5 and only the but that does not mean say Real Madrid midfield no. In fact, they understand Madrid crab. Yes, also could be a Xabi he understands to say Frankie de Jong, Pedri there. Sa boys name you know so body beer. They will be dangerous. But Madrid are not going to have a midfield battle. What Madrid will plan for? They say, you getting ball now. No need to circulate the ball. It just push the ball fast. Move for ball no and come fast. Get the ball quickly to the final third because Saboni be di Vini wa because now saying Vini or stay wide or pass any be 1v1 situations. On your 1v1 situations, it is open up spaces for Kylian Mbappe. That is the plan. But for Barcelona, so okay. say Madrid weak points. Na me share Madrid na Atletico Madrid there no. You see, the Madrid collapse against Atletico Madrid no. Me nye sure say emu baku kra no. Barca betimi ayebi. Because Atletico Madrid okoye crosses bebre in their game because no Alexander Sulot. He was very physical with Real Madrid, especially in midfield. Omo physical. They told some yensa. Omo defender. They were defending a 5-3-2. Barcelona won't defend in a 5-3-2. Barcelona won't do crosses. Barcelona will not do physical game. It is any man yensa we jina so menya show Barca besa. Name Barcelona were unique at Debia up to now. Any paper so and so Debia Barca de Sheomo. Okay. Barca game anymore. The way they are relaxed, proud to the game, during the game. Barca started say or share ebia started game no. Na Barca share 2. Unim say Barca share first 2 goals. Real Madrid team no collapse. Barca Madrid share Barcelona 2. They don't collapse. They are still relaxed. Sa psychological edge, you know. And when me feel say it's a something. Yeah, not minim game no I say Madrid for you overcharged to do. Because every single time, say game no crown go ye my boss. I said they have a belief say the game will still turn around. And only idea they need to guard against because honestly, last year 4 wins na basa nya you know. What individual battles, individual players, qualities are. Madrid no will be chel me yet Barcelona for sure. It's we can still be talking about individual players. Madrid will be name sa psychological edge, you know. So when I don't know any problem because there will be times that Barcelona will dominate. There will be times that Madrid will also have its moments. Madrid moments now, they need to take it. That is the most important thing. Afi, my last one is say, don't over rely on Lamine Yamal. Kenny. You bet me a game no. Lamine Yamal wan bo hwe na Barca sha still no Lamine no sa kwa ko truly Real Madrid for. See, it could be say Lamine more no more attacking Bebre because the more you put 2 players, 3 players around him, you are giving space to Fermin Lopez. You are giving space to Pedri. And now no Pedri shot be no buffet no. Lamine Yamal foul ball. He was surrounded by bad 3 Real Madrid players because they don't want him to score. And they allowed spaces. And see, yes, I agree. Akurano ni wa bufu in some no no. But many so quite you are leaving spaces for the other players to take over. I'm expecting more goals in this game. More goals. But honestly, Madrid 4 me come on cre. Season way, game way, Madrid in Timia and Shebasa. Because clearly Barcelona were a lot of deficiencies. Olympiacos red card they say. Okay. Even before the red card, it was 2-1. See Olympiacos no more back game with the contest about that game no because they can't 6-1 no. Why we be brew news but if you know the context, you know say still no Barcelona were issues. Well, Ken. Okay. They tell us say man you and you're careful. Over 7 games against one team. Now or shall 6er on 4 boom for
Brighton.
Sa Brighton for no. In fact, omuni buo bako kra de mama Manchester.
Never turning point.
Sir.
Oh, never turning point.
Ken me menya who say teams nketwa no. Omo sa bedam penyifo no so a omo bu omo kra. Nti me honestly dey.
Brighton dey say United and Chelsea dey.
As I almost chichi for almost so left, right, center. Honestly, as I said, Manchester for no, it's me a year before this game.
7 matches, United lose to 6.
It's bad
against Brighton.
Come on, Ricky Munina Brighton post to be obey bia a poster or cassette Manchester United. See, I think said that should be more motivational enough. Sunderland the they met me can say minim perfect go form for boom for Sunderland for name Chelsea should be very careful. Teams are more premiership no more concede goals no Sunderland can who.
Okay.
It's they are in fact a game person who complacency in the Chelsea game because some of these games, you know, over dreams so Sunderland they lose to 2. Man you for sure. Man you for one because I give them once a match. Please, Chelsea should be more clinical. And they may expect to say person who mag you continuing. Man a chance because I think it's Joao Pedro anybody but any be but Nancy form no about form. Either Joao Pedro plays as a number 10, number Gio as a number 9, or they should allow the player to build his confidence. I want to see that. Ken, I'm expecting a Chelsea win. Liverpool also, and you're careful. Brentford for no master of set pieces, master of long balls. Coach, and I say, we're analyzing Liverpool. We say teams are over 570 long balls against them. Okay, Omo master is our Brentford for no. Omo should be against Chelsea. Long ball, control. Kevin Shadi go. Almost same against Manchester United. Inti Adiana also on penal. Or share omo master. Liverpool should stop complaining. And I know almost set pieces, and the opponents used to set pieces. Baby, unse na no. Against Frankfurt, say Liverpool they've set pieces. Now Liverpool set pieces in common. They've been quiet about it now because they are taking advantage. It's instead of the coach complaining, I think the right thing to do is to find solutions. Long balls, stop them from playing the long balls. They should start working. Because the more you complain, the more teams take advantage of it. Game complaining long balls. Stop the long balls from the front. Liverpool are good to go.
Okay. You were saying about the Twasu Bimo. Biggie, found some bread.
My mention from the Italians here. And now there was one game about so AC Milan. AC Milan, you started this season now. Lipadodona and more that chance. I'm betting me a compete even for the trophy. Fortunately or unfortunately, the first game of the season was one Koye. But from there, I'm bounce back, I'm finding on rhythm. It's really how good they have played for some time now. No share piece there. A lot of people had that confidence. And AC Milan Bobo. But unfortunately, AC Milan if you want to me and share pizza. I feel that dear Bakwa AC Milan Bobo how almost set up on team and how they play. Can say, oh, but the 3-back system. Now, besides so attack your opponent, over the highliner. You have to make sure say over central defenders are more defensive awareness. It was so. But I feel that the defensive awareness of the AC Milan central defenders, Pavlovic, idea what from. Almost sense of awareness, poor, and almost so lucky pace. It was one of the reasons in here. So Emma, the second goaler, person I did take lead, and so a buyer AC Milan film. One thing I loved or enjoyed about AC Milan Bobo Kono, the new roller coach, the Amma player friend is Luka Modric. Can Luka Modric now you place either as a central midfielder or an offensive midfielder? But they see AC Milan Bobo Kono, on about the number 6, the pivot one, Edema AC Milan. Or bought as a deep lying playmaker. Or no control games in AC Milan. And with no disrespect to any other player this season. Or no AC Milan best player. Italian Serie A animal said you see control games. You see handling AC Milan, the passing range, and the movements. Game anymore. Also to organize the midfield as an experienced player. Clearly. Actually, that kind of golden jeweler. AC Milan Bobo Kono. And so in the shape of a player. Your friend is Luka Modric. And you Santiago Jimenez should be up and doing. So your striker, a typical number 9. At the start of the season, not coaching and Kasanya Yanko. No prefer Rafael or any Christian Pulisic. Fortunately, unfortunately, Pulisic ababa be pra. It is a coach in the UCU. But again, for the past 7 matches, there haven't been any goal from the player. No assist from the player. A typical number 9 who leaded the lines. And the team to say AC Milan, especially when there were problems last season. Now by starting off very well. It's a sad brand and no game in Kuku in the second half. The performance was way better than striker friend Santiago Jimenez on the starting game, Edema AC Milan Bobo Kono. Unfortunately, I'm to me and the 3 maximum points. Last minute, and I'm draw at Macken. And so it's a kind of Edema Omo. Now, on the part of Pisa, who said working on the experience. They had a lot of experienced players in their squad. Raul Abio Munina Nomoka squad no. On also about the 3-back system. And on the Raul Abio and so Ejina Honum, Ewo Bobo Kono, 14 years. 40 solid years. And on also our captain Caraccioli, and so 35 years. You want Quadrado Bermu in the second half. Mbappe share first goal. Edema Pisa Bobo Koneken, also at the age of 37. Also that's Sujinem. And these players with experience and a Feniponia leader, and so Edema one son, AC Milan be equalizer in Balanzola. Another experienced player from Angola. Also so a genuine in the Italian Serie A, 29 years old. And these experienced players and a year Juandema Pisa. Unfortunately, and Yaman to be unconquered from AC Milan, but I believe that in the subsequent games, those wrongs are Munya and coach and right, you know, not Yaman was a Eddie Amomo. There's another big game in the Serie A. Napoli, any Inter Milan, Bobo Kono, and Asia. So, Antonio Conte, Juma Awaye, as a coach, countries our coach also. Even in Italy, Italian Serie A, no, Juma Awaye, and Italian Serie A, waje. Clearly, what they need to do Christian Kivu Hua. Also in terms of experience, or also the Kivu Bebe. That is for a fact. But then, Osha Inter Milan Bobo Kuna. Almost you want to Manche League in a. But in their recent matches, Omabo. Performance in the corner air costo. The last game they played in the Italian Serie A, Omuko AS Roma home Kokosha 1-0. In the Champions League, the last game they played, Omuko Belgium. Ekoshe Union Saint Gelo 4-0 away. Into the last 2 away matches on my bono. Nini no moko koshe. Into there's that kind of confidence. And found this time around. Almost as so Napoli home nomine na kwa kuchia. Napoli on the other part is coming from the backdrop of a poor performance. An extremely poor one. Said Napoli be kwa Champions League against PSV. Near beche the 6-2. It is psychologically. Emrante and Niaman ko yim fam momo. Based on the last game of my boy performance on my dynasty, deficiency of Napoli Bobo on the field of play can Cassiapa a midfield. You need Stanislav Lobotka and about the defensive midfield role Edema Napoli Bobo Kono. On the control the midfield Edema Napoli. On the detecting the pace of the game and so on fin honum. But on ya available. And the coach any option bia so Beko used to be Gilmore. Billy Gilmore since Oba Napoli in the performance na skyrocket a costo. But in the defensive midfield role, ultimate fan to Stanislav Lobotka, especially Inter Milan midfield na airbano. There is almost every player available. Almost every player available the man Inter Milan Bobo Kono. Eric Mkhitaryan mujinam, Hakancha Hanoglu mujinam, won fi honum. And these are players on your Mokwa compete. It is a one number 1 defensive midfielder. Now the Billy Gilmore Nekwa. It's a some Rantiana Akano is supporting a lot. Kevin De Bruyne, Scott McTominay, I was back to the party. And yes, they are. Inter Milan may take you over the midfield. I will take you over midfield now. A better ding the Napoli so bet me about no Baba baby game anymore. Anymore, also there's another problem. Romelu Lukaku, the start of the season now. Onya available. But Napoli no more fortunate to be Rasmus Højlund. Obaye from Manchester United na niyaman koyi. But Oba Napoli bobo ko nim no. Goals na o che bi mo mu, league nim na o che, Champions League na o che. There were nights mu ya den a. Napoli bobo ko nim win 2 goals in just on no na che. But unfortunately on also so doubtful. Ekobasa pe, e was so falling on Lorenzo Luca. Also from Pisa, everywhere a team no any man contain for man on proving so that kind of striker. In the absence of these strikers, so in rather in the absence of these strikers, on only bet me Jim no ya Juma the Napoli Bobo Kono. And these are the deficiencies that Napoli Bobo Kono. Inter Milan problem are going into this game. Ayabako. Marcus Thuram ain't available. But Marcus Thuram any one no and tell big of a problem because in his absence, omu games no munya goals no, and akola no na baba be she na 9. Anji Yoambosi, no so ejinam e partner eye Lautaro Martinez no, and ye me kon kind man no. Ken, so we show Lautaro Martinez because he's a proven striker. This season over 3 goals e wo Serie A animu. Ebia Anji nya big player, onya popular. Only 22 years, and Okrampo last 3 days, no 22. Promoted from the youth team. But Obabe Uremuno in the league, also 3 goals. Or 3 assists. From 7 games, our ball in the Italian Serie A this season. And the funny aspect, there's 7 games, and 2 pet, and Aquadana started, and Yama Inter Milan Bobo Kono. But look at goals and assists, or Yama. And the Onu Tokro da hono no feeling ye stone. So dia o hear your opportunity to exhibit the kind of talent and quality or no Angie Yuan Bosi and just to Ekita Edema Inter Milan Bobokono. Looking at all these parameters. Okay, Cabo now to TB Fremont. I feel that the deficiency in the Napoli team and the away performance of Inter Milan in their last 2 matches, Emma Inter Milan an edge over Napoli Bobokono. A double chance for Inter Milan. Possibly a 2-1 win. So I'm going to bet me a the 3 maximum points in this encounter. Can Brentford ni Liverpool? A 1 gamer, Ebianca, Unyang Somo Baba Bishia straight away. I was so confident say Liverpool Bobokono. I bet me a the 3 maximum points. But before Liverpool go over Frankfurt, Aqua 5-1. Now Liverpool about 4 consecutive matches competitively. And Liverpool in team winning back. It's another casting a bit of dent on the performance and quality of the Liverpool team. On the other hand, Brentford Bobo calling to new team are wired that strong this season. It is very true. But these smaller clubs, some share teams like Kessiana, they always want to prove a point. Omo person omo chere omo so quality omo beti media ha team bia because Kobasa wo share na news. But ono ni shower, ono nebe make the headlines, ono nebe control the airwaves just because wa show. Until we say Liverpool, you're careful. And slot a born home or they stepping in the Premier League. It is true. So to make the Premier League now clearly, we a coach our more more was and to between or no any Kate Andrews there. And slot Gina Brane. But Kate Andrews also pursue history. On also pursue ye be the Brentford. Winning against Liverpool. And so the Onunsu need him back and the Nunti coach and prepare very well. So the best Liverpool Bobo. Liverpool in your careful coach no Moko he's a set piece expert. Ni duma di ento de be PM team friend say Brentford and say no be set piece coach. Oba ye no. And akwanya aba be da ho. Say head coach a free one adjoin Tottenham. Enti ene agi adwuma no nefa ye. Efa ma ene hwede obetimi aye. It is against Manchester United. Against Chelsea. Against Manchester City. Not threatening these teams with the long balls. Aside eno. O share team be obo possessive football and also nim se obetimi ahana. Obo 5 defenders. Nipa mako 5. And I don't actually. No, about 3 midfielders, only 2 attackers. Against Manchester City, the same thing. Against Chelsea, the same thing. And clearly, meeting Liverpool and ne, or better numbers, baby, I will actually want them. Or better Liverpool, I'm not game, no, defend ye. Or far ball, no, the attack on the counter breaks. Or what counter breaks that he looks for one person in front. I got Thiago. Can this season, a brand anymore our body Brentford Bobo has been good. 8 matches in the Premier League, watch 5 goals. It is a Mohamed Salah who go Ketike Cody Gakpo attackers some dangerous, some threatening. But also among numbers this season, I got Thiago has been a better goal scorer than these players will Liverpool anymore. And certainly Liverpool defense should be careful. I am saying this because Kwanya Faso Tona Van Dijk. They open spaces, they ma attackers. Eba be family hati Liverpool Bobo a problem. Against Manchester United, it happened. Against Bournemouth, it happened. Against Chelsea, it happened. But Van Dijk in the toda woka. No, not some kind of ye bibi oho. Against Brentford, who open up so much spaces are. Shadi, any I go Thiago, attackers or move to me a Liverpool Bobo. Aside that, the deficiency in the Liverpool team, Mohamed Salah won't find in fit. The last time they played without Mohamed Salah starting, about 74 minutes and Sana Obama, Liverpool won the game against Frankfurt. It is a big question now when they say, Coach, the best answer Mohamed Salah, the free one, or the university in China. That is the question people are asking. But I believe that the Premier League experience and how good I am Mohamed Salah over the years. So what done they do with Premier League, obey here games like this to pick that kind of confidence. Our Lucy, now they are getting back to the best of form near with Mohamed Salah and Subeti. No matter what has happened in the Liverpool team in recent times, performance up and down, that is very true. But on any day, I still feel the Liverpool was our quality. They should be careful with Henderson. He's a former Liverpool player who would want to prove a point, who would want to do something against the club. And I said the former club. Kaumin Kalaha, a keeper, they are Brentford, and so a former Liverpool goalkeeper. And with these players in their faults, they are going to worry Liverpool. But me feel some more quality on bet media have Brentford Bobo Koneken. Arsenal and Crystal Palace, league leaders. Why Arsenal since Liverpool tough from no matter what you say, nya be better na say Liverpool abese am ho biem. And asa aba be catch omo. Enti Arsenal ball a all born and saying. A ball a shame cry a ball a wasoro. Crystal Palace so one team because of the 3-back system and defensive abilities. Enti omo both teams omo possessive football again a difficult to the master teams no. So omo bet me I had say a Crystal Palace. But then again, Oliver Glass them found this ball now abonyina since about Premier League no. One of the coaches are on team no. A coach a friend say Mikel Arteta. 3 meetings between these two managers. Arteta winning mienu. And about ending in a draw. Fortunately or unfortunately, the ending in a draw no, it was last season. It was Arsenal home. A chunk of the players are available, same quality, same coach. It is almost saying Arsenal home. A dormitory last season and they no more year no. But with Eberechi Eze, this is the perfect game in the absence of Martin Odegaard overstepping up. A former club Unimomo. O science or quality about Arsenal bobo konim wa dine ama obi ehu baby am so dem Arsenal kaka the poor form of a year almost striker Victor Gyökeres Ken before the Champions League game in all competitions no about 7 matches I want to mean go me as a stay but I know you see the game against Atletico Madrid as that rejuvenation game that game of best so they are sorry because Utiminya 2 goals against Atletico Madrid on a Champions League night, a big night, certainly with me against any form of team. And we use no as the backbone. Eddie Ginaswa, over to me the IBB in this game, but we shouldn't doubt the qualities of the players of Crystal Palace. Ismail Assar, one fine player this season in the Premier League, 6 games over 3 goals, 1 assist. Ewo Premier League nimu obejinam Yeremi Pino enso bejinam na afa Jean-Philippe Mateta enso so agina nimu honom e de ama Crystal Palace boboko no. It is going to be a very good game, a very difficult one for Arsenal. Emfa ho ne form omo any performance o ma dine the some lead league no enye easy mfa ma omo. But I believe say me who Arsenal this season what about difficult games, defensive teams, but what's squeezing the way through any results. And today is also going to be one of those days for Arsenal boboko no. A difficult one, but possibly a slim win for Arsenal. Maybe a 2-1 be. Now Arsenal and they are carried the day. 3 points in here. Normally they are maintaining the top spot. Ken.
Let us say, Biggie, you best see